Friedrich Froebel was a German pioneer, and he is the one that invented the theory of kindergarten. And even though it was invented and he came up with it a long time ago, it's still used today in the classroom, and it shows to be very beneficial to the children as they learn and as they get older. On this slide, it talks about Friedrich's life, where he was born, his parents, and just his upbringing. He did not have the easiest childhood. His mother did pass away shortly after he was born. He was, I believe it said, 9 months old, and she got sick and ended up passing away. And with his father being a priest in the village, it kept him away from home for long periods of time, and his older brothers were not living at home at the time, which left his father's servants to be the ones to look after Friedrich while his father was gone. On this slide, it talks about Friedrich's childhood. As I stated previously, he did have a rough upbringing as a child since his mother passed away whenever he was just an infant, and his father was gone a lot due to work since he was the priest in the village. And after his mom passed away, his father remarried, and that gave him some hope that he was going to get the loving motherly bond that he didn't get to have with his own biological mother. And in the beginning he did, but then shortly after they got married, she did get pregnant and had another son, and she soon then shifted her attention to her son instead of him and started treating him poorly, which caused a rift between him and her and his father. On this slide, we continue to talk about his childhood and how this was whenever his father was getting him ready to go to school. And he was teaching him to read, and he did struggle with that, which left his father irritated, and he didn't want to teach him anything else. He just became more frustrated. And so, with the power that he had in the village, he ended up sending his son to an all-girls school. And even though it was an all-girls school, he did have a good time there. He felt like he did learn stuff. But then, shortly after that, whenever he was 10, his father thought it would be best if he went to go live with his biological mother's brother, his uncle, Mr. Hoffman. And he ended up being more of a father figure to Friedrich instead of his own father. He wasn't as strict and mean and lashed out at him like his father and stepmother did. And he got to roam and explore his uncle's village that he lived in. As to when he was at his father's house, he was not allowed to leave the house unless his dad said it was okay. And he got to attend an all-boys school, which he ended up liking a lot better. On this slide, it goes to talk about how he developed his theory of kindergarten. And it also talks about whenever he met his wife and they got married, and he did end up having one daughter before they divorced, Louise. And Friedrich's childhood, it did shape him into the man that he was, because of his rough upbringing, and he had a hard time learning stuff because his father became frustrated with him and having to go to the all-girls school and then switch to an all-boys school before he was old enough to be sent to a university to finally learn more there about his study. And that just left him with more where it helped his theory, because he used his own personal experiences to help guide him in the right direction of how he thought it would help others learn better, like he wishes that he would have had the opportunity to do so himself. Unfortunately, he did not have that then, but we do have that now to teach children in our classrooms these days. On this slide, it continues to talk about how he developed his theory and the universities that he went to. And he did go to one of his first university, and he had thought that he knew everything about all the subjects from when he was at his all-girls school and then attended the all-boys school. But come to find out, he actually did not know what he thought he did. And so that what drove him to continue to learn. He ended up almost like reteaching himself the entire system of it and how to correctly solve all the problems. And then that also shaped him into the person that he was. Now we go on to talk about who influenced Friedrich whenever he was developing his kindergarten theory. And he had many influencers, but he did go through a lot of them to get to the one that he eventually found out that was who he was going to follow in his footsteps to develop his kindergarten theory. Richard had gone to many different universities and he had many different jobs here and there, many of which his father had a say in what he did. And if his father did not like what Friedrich wanted to do, it really didn't matter. His dad had to say so. And so therefore it left him having to do what his dad said. But there was a time that his father, he told him he wanted to do field study, and so his father did find a farmer that was looking to hire somebody, but they were asking too much money. So his father said no, but lucky enough, he did find someone else that was looking for someone to hire, and he got the job. But he only worked for that man for 2 years and then decided to move on to something else. And it left the farmer that he worked for very angry. And on his way back to his father's home, where he was returning, his previous employer had sent his dad a letter saying horrible things about Friedrich, and they were all lies, which left his father very upset with him. And by the time that he got home, his father already received the letter, but luckily his stepmother was there, and she did help calm his father down, and that helped Friedrich a lot, and his brother also helped in that situation. On this slide, it continues to talk about what I previously stated, how the farmer was very upset with Friedrich whenever he decided that he was not going to continue working for him after his 2 years was up. And then it goes on to talk about how he wanted to study at the university where his older brother was studying medicine, but his father said he could only do it if Friedrich could pay for it himself. And Friedrich knew that he had a small piece of land that he had gotten from his mother whenever she passed, but since she left it to him whenever he was underage, he could not access it until he was of age. Therefore, it left him having to wait to go to the university until he was the legal age to get the money from the land. So once he did get the money, he returned to the university, and that's whenever he began to study finance. As we come to an end, it continues to talk about how Friedrich went back to the university to study finance, but once he finished studying it and he was technically done with school, he decided that he wanted to keep exploring different subjects because he just felt that finance was not his calling. So that's what he did, and by doing that, he found Dr. Reed, and that's who played a significant role in his development of the kindergarten theory. And so from there, it talks about how the kindergarten theory helps children with their activity and learning and just letting them play instead of feeling like they're left out because they don't know as much as the other kids and so on. And then Friedrich ended up passing away from an illness on June 21st in 1852. And even though he has passed, his kindergarten theory continues to help children all over the world, and teachers do use it today in the classrooms. During my research over Friedrich and his theory of the kindergarten theory, I came to realize that it is a very good option to use in your classroom, and I do think that teachers should be aware of what it is and how to use it correctly, as it does help children succeed in life. If they don't know the subjects or if they're struggling, that way they don't have to feel left out or embarrassed that they don't know as much as the other children. So I would use this in my classroom whenever I do become a teacher and I want to teach younger children. So I think this would be a great way to help them and incorporate what I've learned from Friedrich over his entire timeline in my own classroom.